Hello fishing friends, this is Matthew with Outfishing 13 bringing you another reel service and repair video for a Zebco reel. What I have today is a Zebco 33 Platinum that is not engaging and reeling in correctly. I think I know what is the problem. Let's take a look and get this serviced and repaired. Here's our Zebco 33 Platinum. This was one of the first made in China models, and the 33 Platinum had four stainless ball bearings, a solid metal frame, and a brass main pinion gear. Great reel. They weren't indestructible for sure, but they're a very nice reel. So the main problem with this reel is it's not engaging and reeling in the line. So I think I know what the problem is. What we see is it doing some goofy stuff here, and then when you reel in, it doesn't cock and where the pins come all the way in. And this button is really loose here. What I think is going on is that the main shaft may have got buggered up a little bit and is not going in all the way, so we need to fix that. So the first thing we need to do is let's take the reel apart. We need to take the center cone off. That's got quite a bit of grit in here, so we're going to make sure we get that cleaned up. The pins look fine and they seem to retract in, so there's no problems with the springs. I've seen these little springs right here come off where they're off like this. Let me show you. Sometimes you get a string underneath here and that pin ends up being like so, and then this does not retract in the way it's supposed to. All you need to do is take and get that pin spring back in like that, and then it will retract. This needs to be cleaned up. Let's take off the spool. This is kind of dirty. This needs to be all cleaned up. So let's get this off. Let's make sure the drag is all the way loose. That helps. So now it's all the way loose now. Take off that. And then the drag washer. Now this is really dirty, so we need to make sure this gets all cleaned up. Okay, this can come out right here. See how that oil is all discolored? There's two pieces of this. There's a stainless steel part and the gear. This little piece right here can come out. Then that can come out. Let's take off the back cover. See what's going on here. Okay, so that's all in fine shape. And then what's going on here is it doesn't seem like something's going on here where this is not going all the way back out. So something is wrong here. Either it's all gummed up or something's going on. So we'll make sure that we get that fixed and resolved. So let's take the handle off. Need a big screwdriver for that. Take the handle off. We need to take out retaining clip here, so that just pulls straight out. And then we need to get these bearings out. There we go, first one. Okay, there's the second bearing come out. Then we can take this center shaft out here. Then we can take this out here. Now there's a anti-reverse bearing in here, and just be real careful when you take it out. And remember, it has to go back in the same way it comes out. They can get jammed in there pretty hard. Let's see if it'll tap out. We're just going to leave it in there and then just wipe everything down. But here's the problem with this right here. Some reason this right here has gotten stuck. Oh, I see why. One of the anti-reverse bearings slipped off. Let's take a look at this now. Oh, look at that. Now it's come back down. Before it was stuck out like about this far, because for some weird reason an anti-reverse bearing, and when it got pushed in, slid down and got stuck in there. So see this little anti-reverse bearing? All we need to do is take, and I can see where it's missing in here, right there, and all we need to do is put some grease in there and get that put back in, clean this up, and we'll have another reel that's working just fine. So we solved the problem with that one. Let me get some grease and use some of this good sticky pen grease, and it's missing right there. Take this little bearing, get it put back in there correctly. It goes right there. We just need to get it pushed down. Into the little slot. There we go. And I'm using some grease because that grease is going to help it hold it in there. So let's see how it works now on this. Okay, it's working perfectly. Soak in. That was weird. I've never seen that happen before. I want to oil this up right here. Alright, I got all my parts cleaned and we're ready to put it back together. We're going to put it back together in reverse order, starting with the center shaft here and the anti-reverse gear. So this anti-reverse gear, when you look at it, has two sides. One side that's solid metal and one side that has this little blue part right here. The blue part needs to go in and look towards, and in the back this goes in just like that. The way you can tell is that this gear needs to spin to the right. So if I put it like this and I go to spin it, look, it won't spin. It'll spin to the left. That's backwards. So we need to make sure that it goes in like this. Okay? And then it spins clockwise. So I've got some grease put in here. That's what you want. Keep all those little pin bearings in. So, and then it's got these 6 little notches, so it just needs to sit down here and fall in like that. Okay, then the next thing we need to put in is this, of course. Okay, and you want to take, and I already did this, but I'm going to show you, just put a little bit of oil in there and let it soak in past those shields and just work it in there a little bit. It should be nice and smooth, okay? And I can't remember, I think I've taken these off before, but I'm not going to take it off the whole shaft. You want to take and put a little drop of oil here and then push this up like so. Alright, there we go. Turn it over and oil this bearing here. Just a drop is all it takes, and then work that in. Okay, let it soak in. Okay. Next thing we want to do is put in the center shaft. Okay, that's this shaft right here. Now, one of the things that I noticed, and it doesn't seem like it came off with the bearing here, but it seems like the gear lash was a little bit loose, but for some reason I think this was not installed properly. But this right here is a shim washer, and that's where it goes, right there, to push this up against this gear and close the gear lash. So that's what that's for. It seems like it was missing or was someplace else. Nice thing about this reel is you don't have to put any sort of anti-reverse together. The anti-reverse is in the middle and it's a continuous one. The next thing we need to do is we need to oil these a little bit and let that oil soak in, and then put these on. So let's start with this side here and get this side put in. What I like to do is take this handle screw, and it helps me seat those. Okay, so it's not seated all the way, but it's close. We'll have to seat it all the way. Put the next one on and get it started. It needs to be seated all the way up to there. So let's get that in there. Be careful, don't push against the shielding, push against the edge of the bearing. Okay, and there it's seated all the way. You can see that. I've closed that gap there and this gap here. When you get that put in there, this should go in there without any resistance. Okay, in other words, it shouldn't interfere with the bearing. And it just snaps in place like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the handle on. The handle nut. Start this by hand first, and then finish putting it on with a large screwdriver or a coin. Now, before, this was really loose, so I am pretty sure that that little washer that was right there was missing out of there. So I'm glad I found it down in there somewhere. It just kind of fell out, and then I found them like, wait a second, it wasn't in the right place. Okay, that's all that it needs. I'm just going to reel it in there to get it on the main pinion. So that's nice and smooth. Okay, a lot smoother than it was before. Okay, I'm going to leave the back cover off until I get everything put together. Then I'll put it on. The drag system put together. So the first thing we want to do, let's put the drag wheel. Oh, here it is. We want to put the drag wheel back together. So what we want to do there is just take and set this in here like so. And then I like to put a little bit of grease on this because it's not made out of stainless steel or anything. It's just like a pot metal, and it has a tendency to get corroded. I've seen them get corroded anyways. And we just slip this in here and turn it around until it seats down in here all the way, just like that. Then we put this on. I want to take and put a little bit of grease on here on the surface because it rides around on these little ramps, and that's what tightens it up. So I put a little grease there. And then if you put it like this, that will be all the way loose, okay? And that's where you want it to install it. Put a little bit of grease on here, and put on this little ring right here, okay? All right. And then the next thing that goes on is this slotted stainless washer, and then add a little bit of grease, just a tiny bit, and then a drag washer, and another little bit of grease. If you want to put a drop of oil, you can. Okay, then the spool goes on, and you want to grease this surface here. Add a drop of oil, then this drag washer, and then get some grease. The grease does a couple things. First, it keeps it from getting from sticking together, because you don't want to. And the other thing, it helps transfer heat if the drag is really going out fast. And then a little bit of grease, and then this washer right here, this clip. Just like that. Okay, then you'll want to put some grease around this right here. This is where the cams on this system ride. So I want to put a little bit of grease in here, not much. I want to oil this hinge here, and this hinge here, and these little cams right there. That's all. Then we can put this back on. So when I send it back to him, I'm going to remind him to put some new line on there. 8 or 10 pound test. Look at that. The pins come out finally. Excellent. Okay. Let's put the back covering the button on so that we can test out the drag and the functionality of that spinner cone. Oh, if you want to, I like to do this, put a little bit of grease right there. Okay, there's cocked. There we go. Okay, I wasn't doing that before, and it sounds a lot smoother. Before it was kind of grinding a little bit, and I think it's because that washer was missing on the main shaft, and it wasn't closing the gear lash. So that's working good. And the drag, let's tighten it up some. Oh yeah, the drag works great. I'm going to loosen it up some, leave it about right there. Put the cap on. Get the shield up on top. And there's a weep hole down below there. That needs to go down at the bottom. But yeah, wow. Well, you ought to be happy with that. That wasn't too bad of a repair. I thought maybe the center shaft was all buggered up, but it was just anti-reverse bearing. I think what may have happened is if you take this cap off and you push in that button, and those anti-reverse bearings are in the way, you can push it in too far and then allowing one of them to drop down, and that's what happened. So don't really push the button in hard when you have the cap off. I mean, you can push it in to try it out, but don't push it really far. Just push it in to get that, and then just to test things out to make sure things are working right. So let's put the cap back on again. But another successful repair. And this is a great reel, this Platinum. For some reason This right here got buggered up, but it shouldn't come off unless you take and push that button in, then it'll come off. That's just a little lock thing right there. That's what that button is for, is to lock that in place. You push it in, it moves a little lever out of the way, a little lock lever, and then you can turn it. So don't try taking it off without pushing in that button. Okay, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I have over 50 other reel repair videos of various Zebco reels, so if you're interested in watching those, go and watch some of those. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you're subscribed, give me a thumbs up, and comment below. Have a great day. Bye.